What's an intrusive thought you accidentally let slip? Hey people of Reddit, welcome back to our channel. Today's topic might hit close to home. What's an intrusive thought you accidentally let slip? We're diving into those moments where our minds take us on a wild ride, and sometimes those thoughts slip out. Let's share and relate. If you enjoy this kind of discussion, don't forget to hit a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Let's jump right in. Number 15. My brother and I, like many siblings, have stupid running jokes, many not suitable for vocalizing. One being while you're down there, every time one of us bends over in front of the other. So anyway, I said it at work, to a girl, who dropped a pen next to my desk. I was then more horrified than she was. I stammered an apology, then moved countries. A guy at my job got fired after a week for doing humping motions behind a girl that bent over. More than an intrusive thought, I suspect. Number 14. At my old job that I hated due to my bosses being absolutely terrible people, my boss was giving me doing something she explicitly told me to do, then told me she hadn't told me to do, and it turns out it wasn't actually what she wanted. She did this constantly and everyone there knew it. She brought this up around all of my coworkers. I was fresh out of and told her she specifically told me to do the thing. She argued back that she hadn't and told me to drop it. I replied, "But you did though." A few more rounds and she said, "Do you need to go home for the day? My name here." My first thought was there's no way it's that easy. Well, it turns out that was an outside thought. She dragged me into a room to now privately yell at me since now privacy was important to her. I was there for another year before I left. Number 13. 15 years ago, I was working a job for selling radio commercial slots. We had a week-long call-a-thon where all the salespeople had to try to convince businesses to sign up for a small business conference, which was actually just a big scheme to sell people radio time. During a break, the conference leader asked what the vibe we're getting from people when we call. Without thinking, I said, "Everyone I call said this sounds like a scam." The room got quiet and the sales managers looked like they wanted to kill me. I got fired an hour later. Number 12. I was in China in the Forbidden Palace, and all these people were crowding and shoving their way in, especially unaccompanied kids. No sense of decorum or personal space. Like every time I was about to take a step forward, one would dart in front of the space in front of me and block me. After like the 10th time, I elbowed a 9-year-old boy in the back hard. He let out a yelp of pain and looked back at me shocked. I muttered an apology. Still shocked I did it and feel bad. Number 11. Back in high school, on a bus trip back from a camp, the token gay kid of the cool kids, self-identified, group was talking shit about how bi people don't exist and are just gay in denial. After I had mentioned I was bi, I still identified as strictly male at the time and had a girlfriend. I don't know if it was the insinuation that I didn't love my girlfriend, or the pent-up irritation I had towards that group in general, or just the fact that he was talking shit about my identity on a 2-hour bus trip. But the moment we got off, I lodged my elbow firmly into his gut. I mean, I stand by saying that he absolutely deserved it, but that was definitely something I would rather have just thought than done. Number 10. My first job, I had an insufferable senior who had it out for me for whatever reason. Kept questioning my competence, which, fair, I was struggling. Wondering why the boss would make such a dumb decision as hiring me, insisting on me working through my lunchtime. The works. One day, in the middle of an especially rough day, I blurted out something along the lines of, "Can you stop it? You can see I'm struggling, and you think scolding without helping is going to help me. What's wrong with you? Are you the reason Indians beat their wives?" She was of Indian heritage, and she ended up just crying in front of me. I think she was facing something similar back home, and I'd accidentally hit a major trigger. I still feel some guilt over that comment, and I eventually ended up resigning even though nothing more was said about it. But the bullying stopped, and I suppose she did start it. Number 9. A friend of a friend did a lot of work organizing a canoe trip down a river in Michigan. She misunderstood just how long the trip was. We all expected 2 to 3 hours. This was an 8-hour excursion. About halfway through, half the group were passed out drunk. These were the days of the first blend of Four Loko, before they reformulated it because of the risk of heart failure. Point is, we were literally just floating in the river. No paddling at all. Nobody had brought enough drinks or snacks. It was hot. We were all cranky and sunburned. The hostess was feeling insecure about everything because she saw how uncomfortable everyone was. One of the passed-out guys floated under a dock in the river, so we had to go over and rescue him. Then he did it again. I had a little buzz on, since the only sustenance we had was a cooler of beer, and was hot and cranky, and I let out in the most sarcastic tone imaginable. "Well, this is fun," right in earshot of the hostess, who audibly gasped, then scolded me on mistreating her friends. Number 8. A customer I was helping once, about a year ago, accused me of swearing. She thought I said it F, but I actually said heck. I told her after the initial accusation, "I don't swear in front of customers, it's really fucking rude." I realized what I had said when she started laughing her ass off, telling me, "I'll let that one go, that was funny as hell." Number 7. I know a guy who went to Army basic training a few years ago. He had a horrendously homophobic buddy to the point where he'd refuse to do anything next to one of his gay platoon mates. For example, he'd say like, "Nah, what if he my ass, I ain't going down" during fire and movement training. He and his section mates decided to give him shock therapy. In the middle of the night, he and 10 other men gathered around his bunk, pulled down their underwear, shone torque lights from below their balls, and went cheep cheep cheep, welcome to the bird park. He woke up surrounded by 11 illuminated penises, screamed, bashed his head against the upper bunk hard enough to need stitches, and ran down in his underwear to find the duty orderly with blood dripping everywhere. Needless to say, the section got publicly smoked while naked. Everyone, except the homophobic clown, enjoyed it though. Barely suppressed laughter across the whole platoon as they did push-ups with their doxed, tickling the concrete, complete with the platoon sergeant trying his absolute best not to collapse in a fit of laughter. The military may be a show, but I miss the random times like this. Number 6. Me 17, first time driving downtown Toronto, going to a Raptors game with friends. I turned into a 5-lane, oncoming traffic, one-way street in the heart of downtown Toronto. My 2 buddies are in the car with me, and while thinking of what to do, U-turning wasn't an option without getting T-boned. I suddenly saw a small moment of opportunity in the traffic and said, "1 sec." I slammed on the gas and gunned it while blaring the horn. Both my buddies are screaming their heads off. Somehow I managed to pull into an alleyway maybe 200 meters away after avoiding 3 cars. I stopped the car and we just kinda sat there quietly for a minute and burst out laughing. 2-3 minutes later we saw lots of cops going down the same road. We never got caught and made it to the game in time. Number 5. A long time ago, I worked in a very small call center with an insufferable woman who complained constantly about work, off as much as humanly possible, stole other people's food, and had horrific hygiene. She was a menace. We had corded headsets with a button that allowed us to detach while keeping the headset on. It was easy to forget while wearing it all day, and we all occasionally would get up and try to walk away, pulling ourselves back and laugh about it. Now we had an open floor plan with small desks, and the back row, where I sat, could see the front row, where she sat. One day, after an unusually long streak of complaining, she decided she needed to get up and rush to the kitchen. She did not detach her headset. She dramatically threw herself backwards and then did some kind of barrel roll and then flopped on the ground, moaning and screaming. I grabbed the nearest notepad, wrote something, and held it up for everyone to see. 7.5. I took off points for the landing. I only got in a little bit of trouble with the bosses because they couldn't stand her either. Number 4. Was eating dinner with my mother, her BF, and my brother. Mom and her BF played a song for us, made us guess who the name of the woman who's featured on the song. Her name is Carol Pope. Mom's BF says, "I'll give you a hint. Her initials are CP, and I sarcastically respond with, "It's gotta be child." Mom wasn't impressed. Mom's BF thought it was hilarious. My brother just shook his head at me. I thought my timing and delivery were pretty good. Number 3. Working in a supermarket, had a customer complain that she'd been priced wrong. She was trying to buy an entire wheel of cheese, claiming the ticketed price said $5. So they asked me to go and have a look with her. Turns out the tag for the tiny arse wedges of cheese had slid over a bit. I pointed this out to her, and she claimed, rather aggressively, that she simply didn't see it. The words that I was supposed to say were something like, "Understandable, but this is marked for the wedges." The words I wanted to say, which were what did come out, were, "Well, if you opened your eyes." Whoops. Number 2. I let out an audible "this mother effer" in my black voice when my boss did something disrespectful in front of myself and customers. It's a good thing you said it in your black voice, though. It sounds way more authoritative to call someone a mother effer that way. He probably had to stop for a second to ask himself if he was in fact being a mother effer. Number 1. I'm kinda late on this one, and it will probably get missed, but it's too good not to share. A buddy of mine was fresh out of school and into the Air Force on course to be a pilot. He was at some sort of big meeting with a lot of top brass. I'm not military, so I don't know what the meeting was about. He walked over to the refreshment bar to grab a drink. He saw they had Pepsi and instinctively said, "Pepis." What he hadn't realized was he was standing right next to a 4-star general. He then had to explain to said 4-star general the meaning of the word and how it came to be. He's now a pilot, and his call sign is Pepis. Thanks for hanging out with us today. If you've ever had an intrusive thought slip out, you're not alone. Remember, we're all human here. If you enjoyed this conversation, give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more relatable content. Share your experiences in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation going. Until next time, take care and keep being awesome. See you soon.